Welcome back to Thrawn's Revenge Abridged. Last time we continued our offensive against the Pentastar alignment, just defeating them in many one-sided battles and gradually stealing all of their surprisingly undefended territory. But then the New Republic sent a giant fleet to attack the other side of our empire. They were easily able to win their first space battle. However, when they tried to take a planet from us, we just about managed to defeat their ground army, mostly by exploiting defensive turrets. Now though, we still need to find a way to deal with that space fleet. The solution to the fleet problem actually happened so fast that I literally almost missed it. What happened was, around the same time as the land battle we saw last time, I brought my main fleet over, ready to just contest the New Republic fleet and try to beat it straight up. I saved the game after the fight, and when I reloaded it to come and play this battle later on, the enemy happened to send 2/3 of their fleet back, leaving only some ships here. So where we start our attack, the enemy's fleet is severely weakened, and this is going to be the perfect opportunity to destroy all of these ships with minimal danger to our own force. A few of the ships we are facing here are the Mon Calamari heavy cruisers, which I suppose are the upgrade of the Mon Calamari cruisers, which they also have. There's one at the top left there. They're very strong, not necessarily offensively, but they take a very long time to bring down, even with loads of our capital ships firing at them. Still, things go well, we destroy a couple of ships, and then the remaining enemies try to retreat, and we say no. I've got two interdictors, they both turn on their gravity wells, so the enemy are stuck here. We'll take out the remaining cruiser, and then we can go after this big boy. They've got a Home 1 style Mon Calamari cruiser, which I guess is like the New Republic's super capital class thing for leading fleets, and there it was, stuck on its own, easily destroyed by just the complete spam of all of our fleet. Now, the battle doesn't end right away, and that's because the Republic somehow captured the weapons platform that previously was here, the one that I built. All I needed to do to take it out was turn off the gravity wells, because that makes the AI take the chance to retreat. So now we don't have to bother fighting that thing. Just being a little bit lazy, I'm sure it would have been easy to take down. It says that we lost it in the end, I guess it blew up. Annoying. Anyway, we took out about 1/3 of the enemy's fleet there. That's what we like to see. The question was, where's the rest? A recon droid went back towards the New Republic to look for it. We saw a few ships here at Bakura, but not the big blob with all of the heroes in it that had been threatening us before. Regardless of where it is, I'm now thinking, let's go on the offensive against the New Republic, because the fleet I have now is pretty much all the ships in our empire combined. It's 3 times the size of the fleet I was using to attack the Pentastar alignment, and it's twice the size of the New Republic fleet that attacked us, so I just go for it. Here we are at Bakura. It took us so long to get here that the enemy actually had a few more ships by the time we arrived, so it wasn't just the 2 or 3 things I was expecting. However, even with 5 or 6 things, that's not going to be enough. They screwed themselves over a little bit with their formation as well, like here, the heavy Mon Calamari ships right up in front of their formation, just getting focus fired down, while the lighter Mon Calamari things at the back can't really help very much from back there. You might also just about be able to see they've got some Nebulon Bees there. Nebulon Bees seem to have been nerfed quite a lot in this mod. They're really small and weak compared to the mainstay of the fleet that they were in original Star Wars Empire at War. Anyway, so we blew up a few more ships, blew up a station, and captured some space there. Good progress. And from here I thought, let's just keep going. We can't take territory here. I haven't brought any ground troops. All of our ground armies up in the Pentastar area. But let's just rampage through the New Republic for a little bit. Let's quite literally get Thrawn's revenge for them attacking us. So now I'm going to go on the offensive, even without scouting ahead. Let's just do it. Even if they've got loads of ships, we can probably take them. That's the theory. And I'm also slowly putting together a second fleet to watch over the Pentastar front. It's mostly just destroyers, because we lack the capacity and money to build capital ships. But destroyers, or our destroyers at least, are somewhat capable of holding their own against capital type ships, because they're so offensively strong. As you can see, we end up now with a battle at Endor. A nice potential propaganda victory, just a few enemy units here, including a hero, and a chance for us to one-up the rebels. Since this is the location where the rebels defeated the Empire, now it shall be the location where Empire 2.0 Blue Deluxe Edition defeats the New Republic. We were challenged in our deployment area to battle by one of their gigantic Home 1 type Mon Calamari cruiser things again. And again, shouldn't be too much trouble to bring it down, because we can just send everything against it. Well, not everything actually, because we're sort of choke pointed up against the edge of the map, so some of our ships are stuck doing not much at the back. Anyway, it was easily enough to bring the enemy down. They're barely even shooting at us right now. Here's the real target though, the enemy hero guy. They've got someone who it says is destined to be the supreme commander of the New Republic fleet. It says something like he later became New Republic supreme commander. Don't know if that's later as in now, or later, even later in the Star Wars canon. But whatever the case, his career will be brought to a quick end as he attempts to face us. I guess he's not that good of a commander, because I don't have the gravity wells on. They could at least try to retreat and see if I let them go, but in this case he didn't bother. So down with him, we'll take out the space station, and there we have it, a nice victory over Endor. After that, I actually didn't keep rampaging on. I decided to hang around a bit and just build a couple of ground units, because I figured we only need a few things to take the ground, most likely, in these two places we've just captured the space over. So let's actually have them. Let's do this in a bit more of a methodical way, rather than just going around killing everything, because ultimately that won't achieve anything long run. At the same time, my new second fleet I've been building up in the Pentastar area gets its first test in battle. A very brutal battle indeed, facing some sort of barely perceivable speck that's coming at us there. This fleet's, as I said, mostly destroyers. They are Star Destroyers, these things I've got, just not the Imperial Star Destroyer style things that are capital ships unto their own right. They're still pretty powerful. We also, as we saw there, have this big sword-like thing. It's just a gigantic floating gun that can blow ships up in one hit, or small ships I should say. And indeed it won us the battle there. It seems like Pentastar are really on the back foot. We've got most of their territory now. They do still have planets here and there, and some on the other side of the galaxy that they must have conquered earlier in the game, but not much. They do try to contest us again at Anx Minor, sending a few ships to attack our gigantic fleet. I'm confident that they sent these ships before my fleet was here, and they've been forced to arrive into this difficult battle. That said, they don't try to retreat, so they are messing up here. It's just a few Enforcer frigates which aren't very good, and while these chaff Star Destroyers don't have the shield tanking power to just rampage through frigates without thinking about it, we've got the numbers, and we've got our giant sword gun thing that can just shoot through enemy shields and blow their shield generators up instantly, which means those Enforcers aren't going to last very long with a little bit of micro. So there we have it, a second victory for our second fleet. I really should send a hero to go and lead it or something to make it look more official. And overall, it seems that we are here to stay in the Pentastar alignment's space. Now then, we need to take the ground at Baccarat. Here we faced our first encounter with a heavy vehicle. The New Republic have some of these T4B things from the base game with their rockets and lasers. They also have the buildings that will allow them to respawn these things, so we'll be facing quite a few. This could potentially be an issue because we aren't very well composed to take down heavy vehicles. We've got our MMT which can fire at them, but most of our other stuff is anti-infantry. But still, we're just going to do our best. We're just going to rush basically and try to take capture points. As I do so, my infantry encounter an artillery spotter, and then very rapidly after it, some artillery, some of the long-range multiple missile things. I'm just going to rush it down with these flame tanks. Luckily they survived being hit by the missiles, and it's just the one artillery piece. If there'd been a couple, it would have been wiped out there. But it's on its own for whatever reason, so we'll just easily bring it down. Even though those flame tanks are anti-infantry, those artillery things are just weak, so it's fine. We capture a communications array which reveals the enemy base, and we'll quickly use that to bomb one of their factories to stem the production of the enemy tanks. They've still got another one back there we need to take out. Their tanks aren't being all that aggressive, they're mostly just hanging around in their own base, which suits us, so I just wait outside the base for a bit and blow up some of their buildings, then start rushing in just after the tanks left. Curiously, the tanks all rushed to the other side of the map at once, perhaps hoping to clear out the capture points now that I'm not there. They will be able to succeed here, because as we saw there, my anti-vehicle turret isn't especially effective against the T4Bs. I guess just because they're heavy and have tons of health, they can quite literally tank the anti-vehicle fire. Still, this doesn't help the AI, because while they're doing that, all of my squishy units are in their base blowing up their buildings. And eventually, as they go around taking on all the turrets I've left around the place, we are able to whittle down their attack group, and nothing too significant comes of it. Not that it would anyway. They finally retreat and we don't have to take out the last couple of tanks, so that's nice. There we have it. A tiny bit of resistance offered there. Slowly but surely the ground battles are going to get a bit harder as we go on because the enemy start bothering to try. And we're going to have another ground battle very soon, in fact, because I'm going to go and invade Endor. First we need to take space again. There was just a couple of Nebulon Bs which are barely visible and the lowest level space station, so we just power on in and attack, move our way to victory there. Then I'm just going to take all the units we did have at Baccarat and go for a ground attack on Endor. Don't really know what's there, but we'll find out. Looks like there's some infantry at the very least. Now, because it's Endor, we are going to be swarmed by Ewoks. And indeed, the very start of the fight proved to be a little bit hairy because we were fighting right out of the gate, and the Republic troops showed up to help as well. And because I haven't landed anything anti-infantry at first, they do have a chance to put some damage onto us. Luckily, my flame tanks land at the front of the formation, and they'll be able to keep the Ewoks and infantry at bay. The enemy scout tanks are coming in from the north. They quickly destroy the anti-vehicle turret I was building, and now they threaten my artillery, but my Mega Mazer tank is able to turn and blow them up. We can get one-hit kills on those things, so that's all fine. There's more infantry there, which we need something else to fight, while our flame tanks are busy taking down the Ewoks and their trees off to the right. This is a case where I think if we'd been able to run over enemy infantry, we'd be fine, because things like those medium tanks we see on the left there aren't very good against infantry or vehicles because they're supposed to be in between. But if we could just run over infantry, we could solve our problems pretty fast. Now, it turns out there's loads of enemy infantry in the forest off to the left, including rocket launcher guys who are targeting our giant tank. Our tank's trying to get rid of that bunker that the enemy have occupied, but for whatever reason it seemed to be shooting at the ground. I had to move it further away before it could actually get the hit. Our flame tanks are having a great time of just absolutely annihilating the Ewoks' trees, which will stop them from respawning. And now that the bunker's down, we have a quick infantry fight on the other side of our landing point. We have enough infantry to just win that on sheer numbers, so I leave them to it. The Ewoks are now gone, so it looks like we've finally secured our landing position and the attacks have let up. But there's plenty more out there, especially when it comes to Ewoks. I start moving my forces into the clearing to the south, while a group of infantry goes to the southeast. They started engaging these enemy scout tanks. I just left them there because from my memory of vanilla, those scout tanks were really bad even against trash infantry. However, perhaps things are different, or perhaps the Ewoks were just contributing quite a bit here, because my infantry gets annihilated and I have to call off that attack. Meanwhile, we're having an easy time taking out more of the Ewok spawning trees. This flame tank is doomed as the scout tanks overwhelm it. It's only a light tank itself, so it can't take even these low quality attacks. And now it looks like we're about to be rear flanked by this enemy group. Luckily they'll be rear flanking my heavy tanks, which will be able to take them down, so that's alright. What I want to do is call in bombers against the Ewok spawning things by the next capture point. So that's the objective. We're just going to quickly wipe out this rebel training facility because it's spawning enemy infantry, as you can see right there. One last-ditch rear attack from those scout tanks isn't going to go very well for them. We just wipe them out at point-blank range. Now I moved around back towards that capture point, but they'd built an anti-infantry turret right here, shooting at my infantry. I just left my infantry there because it would take too long to run away, and I thought my vehicles would just destroy it. But they didn't. You can see my vehicles are firing at the turret, but they're missing it. And during that time, the turret wipes out pretty much all of my infantry until finally we get a hit. That didn't go as expected. Also, you saw I called in a bombing run against the Ewok trees, but all of the bombers got shot down by something. They just never made it to those trees. So now we have to take this position the slow way, and annoyingly my infantry keep getting drawn into combat with this bunker full of enemy infantry to the south, so we lose a load more guys to that. Our MMT will now blow up the bunker and force the infantry out. I've built a repair pad to try and get my vehicles back into working order, and once the infantry are in the open, we'll just spam them with our own infantry, who are all in the take-cover formation, so have reduced damage. So take reduced damage, I should say. And overall, everything is fine, except for this one guy. There was one guy hiding in the river who my infantry just couldn't bring down. They were just missing him. So I don't know if this mod adds line of sight mechanics. I don't really remember line of sight being a thing in vanilla. But anyway, in this case, to take out this one guy, we're going to have to bring out the big guns. That guy probably thinks he's safe right now after we withdrew, but unfortunately not. Anyway, so we've captured this point. We don't have enough men left to actually fill up our pop cap, so we just have to make do with what we have. The enemy had an anti-inf turret and an anti-vehicle turret defending their base, but a space bombardment takes that down easily enough. Now we can finally rush the base and just go wild. There wasn't too much in here, just Ewoks wandering about. As long as we do it quickly, the enemy won't respawn too much more stuff, so it can all go fine with a bit of a good old-fashioned attack moving. I bomb my own men and also bomb an enemy building at the same time for good measure, and at around this time the enemy withdraw. I think they had more stuff at the top of the map, but never mind that. So we did end up taking some losses there in that battle, including one of our artillery tanks. A little bit annoying, but there you have it. The enemy are allowed to resist sometimes, I suppose. Now we're going to slightly build up defences there at Endor because it's at an important crossroads. I'm also going to start redistributing this fleet because it's got way too many ships in it. We can only deploy like a third of this fleet at once, so we might as well split it. An annoying thing about this game is that to manage your forces like this, you can't have the game paused. So while you're stuck on this screen moving the units about, time's going by and you're missing the chance to be building units, moving stuff, doing battles and all that. So it just feels very inefficient to be micromanaging fleets like this. But anyway, eventually I split the fleet in half. Well, not quite in half actually. One group will defend Endor, an attack group will go on to attack more New Republic stuff, and one of our heroes will go back to man our fleet back over in Pentastar space. We get hit with the enemy fleet approaching as we go into Bespin there. Again, we have no idea where or what it is, so we'll just have to find out after this space battle. I say space battle, it actually appears to take place in the atmosphere of Bespin, so that's an exciting twist. The enemy came at us with a few small ships and a load of fighters. Here's my fighter cloud dealing with the fighter threat by the looks of things. Pretty hard to tell what's going on in there, and I'm picturing my capital ships are just firing indiscriminately into the blob. You can see I've got everyone actually going away from the enemy to start things off, and it's because this is another battle where we've got the guys spawning in for free at the deployment zone. So I'm just hanging around, and there they are. It's a couple of Imperial Star Destroyers that show up. They're Tector Star Destroyers. It says that they're a bit better than normal Imperial Star Destroyers. Not sure what faction these guys are from, but they're not going to last too long. Since we've got them surrounded, we can just pound them with all of our own capital ships and eventually bring them down. Although they were firing quite a lot at one of my ships in particular, one of the weaker ones, and it's starting to get damaged, so I'm going to try and get out of there with this guy. Can't remember what it's called. I call it the broadside because that's what it says when you click on it. And it's a ship where it can only fire from one side. That's its special gimmick. But yes, you can see it's getting destroyed as it moves away. Its engines go down, so now it's super slow. But as we start to lose health, we're also destroying the guns on the Star Destroyer. So it's a race to see which one's going to get destroyed first. And while it looks like we're losing to start off with, once the enemy's guns go down, their offensive capability disappears, and we are going to be able to just about get away with a tiny bit of health left on the ship. Now with that done, I thought let's do an experiment. If we're in a little peaceful situation, let's turn on emergency jump and see how long it actually takes to do the emergency jump. I'm going to save you the wait. The answer is, I don't know, because I eventually got bored of waiting for it to happen and just sent the rest of the fleet to attack. You can see that dot on the mini-map off to the right is the broadside thing just hanging around, still hasn't quite managed to jump out yet. So I spammed my way through the enemy's stations and a couple of cruisers there. They also had a couple of transports in the corner that I didn't really spot, and they managed to jump away, so that's unfortunate. And we learned that the emergency jump takes at least a few minutes, because that battle went on for a while and my guy was still there at the end, so don't really know what's up with that. Seems to be not an especially practical ability. Now here, I presume, is the enemy fleet that was approaching. Up here at Ord Tracy, we're being attacked by a couple of heroes and a couple of corvettes. Time to find out what this actually entails. Strangely, it's Pentastar units. I don't know where they came from, but they're here now. The good news is that one of their heroes is in this really tiny frigate-class ship, and we have two of our defense platforms guarding a choke point in between asteroids that the enemy will have to go through. The mega masers on these defense platforms can immediately wipe the shields off these frigates and destroy hardpoints in one hit. So that first guy gets heavily damaged and then starts flying away. The second hero is in an actual Star Destroyer, so this is more of a challenge, but still we're able to hold out. While we take some damage, we're able to do a lot of damage right back. It turns away to try and escape, but its shields are down and we're able to blow up its engine, so now it's stuck and we can do even more damage, especially with all of these fighters and bombers spamming all over the place as well. They all together will gradually wipe out those hard points as well. I decided to redirect my bombers to finish off that first hero, since he was on the verge of death and was just about getting out of our range. A barrage of proton torpedoes gets rid of him, so whatever happens now, we've dealt a blow to the Pentastar. And in fact, they decide to run away. They're running away just in time, actually. We're not able to deplete the rest of the health on this Star Destroyer. However, something strange seems to happen. It doesn't play the retreat animation when the time runs out, and then it just says that the hero unit was destroyed. So I don't really know what happened. It seems like something good happened. We managed to completely destroy their fleet, for no losses on our own side, because it was all garrison fighters and such that we were losing. Very good. I still don't know how they got to Ord Tracy. I'm looking around here like, well, where are the Pentastar? They've got the odd planet here and there, but it looks like they would have had to go through my main fleet in the area to get to Ord Tracy. Perhaps they have some special ability, or perhaps because the fleet was so small, it was able to bypass us sneakily like a raiding land army can do sometimes. Anyway, so this guy here, this hero, is going to go and lead our fleet up in Pentastar space. I just need to find a way to get him there. I gave him a conservative order, hoping that he wouldn't fly through enemy space on the way, but you can see he immediately has taken a path that will take him through enemy space, so that's going to be a bit of an issue. Before we see what comes of that, we've got another battle at Ord Tracy, another small Pentastar fleet. This one's not really much more powerful than the other one, perhaps it's weaker. It's got a couple of Acclamators and a Venerator Star Destroyer. Overall, nothing too special, and again we can use our defense platforms to our advantage. Their Mega Masers can take the shields off the Acclamators and destroy their hard points. And once they're weak, I'm going to turn my attention to firing on the Star Destroyer. I've also got my fighters and bombers swarming the Star Destroyer to get things going early on. One Acclamator gets too close and goes down there. I think it was the turbo lasers that took it out. These things do have a few turbo lasers on them, shooting little blue lasers, but they're not especially effective. They've only got a few, and they can only shoot in certain directions. So really, they're sort of like a frigate-class ship that just looks like the size of a capital-class thing. But then if you give them a manual attack order, they'll use their gigantic Mega Maser things, and then they're just really powerful. Anyway, the enemy retreated. We just about destroyed one last corvette before they got away. This time the retreat actually worked, and they did manage to save an Acclamator, but overall another pretty good victory. Still no idea where these guys are actually coming from. Maybe they've actually rampaged through Empire territory and are coming from the south, not quite sure. Anyway, now we're going to have to see how our one little ship does as it attacks the neutral zone, or supposedly neutral zone. And as it turns out, you can fly right through this zone, so that's nice. I fully expected to be attacked by something. I'm sure there is a faction here, because the AI would have taken this territory if there wasn't. I think if you try a land battle, it will reveal someone's there. But looks like you can just fly by, so that's a nice shortcut across the galaxy that we can use in the future. So now I'll put together a nice second fleet led by a hero up here and go on a bit of a rampage in the general area. I'll also be rampaging through the New Republic and even the Empire some more in search of a challenge in the next part of Thrawn's Revenge.